Welcome back to another episode with Think Big with Lasindu. Before we get into this episode, if you are someone who does not believe in AI, future of humanity is around AI, this episode might not be for you. But if you are someone who understands AI or who believes the future of humanity will be around AI, stick around until the end of this episode because I can guarantee you this episode will blow your mind. Because in this episode, I'll be covering multiple topics. I'll be explaining you what is AI and the energy crisis that we are about to step into because of AI, the Cold War that starting because of AI, the importance of TSMC and Taiwan, why China is couple of steps behind in this AI game. People who are training these AI models such as OpenAI, ChatGPT doesn't even have an idea how AI works. I'll be covering a lot of things in this episode, so stick around. This is Think Big with Lasindu. And before we get into AI, if you are watching me on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon to get notified every time I upload a video. And if you're listening to me on a podcast platform, make sure that you follow me because that helps more than you think. Alright, so imagine this. A future where machines are smarter than you. A future where wars are being decided not by tanks or missiles, but by algorithms. Right now, there's a hidden war happening, and that war pretty much is not fought with tanks or missiles, but with tiny chips and laser beams smaller than a virus. And you need to understand whoever controls these secret battles controls the future of humanity. And the crazy part is nobody understands it. So before we dig deeper, let me explain what is AI. So I'm gonna try my level best to explain things in this episode in the most simplest way so the most folks can understand without getting deeper into technical aspect. So the simplest definition for AI is machines that can learn, predict, and create. Right? So basically, like for an example, Google Maps. I mean, how you get the best route when you enter a certain destination is AI. The social media is run based on AI algorithms. Netflix, how do you get these movie recommendations? It's AI. Basically, AI has been living in our lives rent-free for a very long time. AI is pretty much everywhere. It's like AI today is like electricity about 50, 60 or 7, maybe about 100 years ago, right? It's quite reshaping everything right now, and people are getting used to it, and we are just so deep into AI right now, like there's no way out of it as well. There's no way out of electricity. It's like the same thing's gonna happen to the humanity about AI in just a couple of years. It's not gonna take us 100 years, believe me. Maximum it will take about 2 years that people will not be able to survive without AI. And the main crisis is the energy crisis. This is where the crisis gonna start to happen. People don't understand how much energy and how much power that these companies need for us to use these like models like ChatGPT or whatever. Even like for Google to give you the best route on Google Maps, they use AI. So like but people don't have an idea like how much energy and how much power that they need to have in their data centers to give you those services. These AI chips requires a massive amount of power. And believe me when I tell you this, not in next 10 years or 5 years. Within next 2 to 3 years, by 2028, we are going to need AI data centers that requires a massive amount of power. Just to give you a rough idea, one AI data center will use about 1 gigawatt of power. And to the folks who doesn't have an idea about like how big this gigawatt is, from 1 gigawatt, you can just give energy or pretty much power about million homes. Pretty much you can power an entire city. So the electricity that can power 1 million homes is equal to one AI data center. And one AI data center is nothing. It's not going to be enough. It's not enough at all. You are going to need multiple tens of AI data centers just to give you the normal AI needs. And it's just going to grow massively. It's going to go rapidly. And most countries does not have that kind of energy just to power up those data centers. Only handful amount of countries can accommodate that. So basically, just to give you an idea, so you need a data center to give this AI experience to people. And these AI data centers need AI chips. And so this is like a whole ecosystem. Right? This AI thing is like a whole ecosystem. So like this energy crisis is just only a one tiny problem. Right? So then to power up these AI data centers, you are gonna need AI chips. And who makes these AI chips? These AI chips are made by a company called TSMC. So this company TSMC is responsible for about 90 to 95% of AI chips being manufactured in the whole world. TSMC stands for Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Funny story. So the founder of TSMC was working in a US company back in the day in 1980s, I believe. And he wanted to be the CEO of that company, but they didn't promote him to be the CEO of that particular company. So he just left. He just like, fuck this thing. I'm going back to Taiwan and gonna start my own chip company. And that company is TSMC. The funny story is, so it's TSMC stands for Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. The company that he used to work before was in Texas. So if he had become the CEO of that particular company, still it would have been TSMC, but Texas Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Anyway, so TSMC is the company that manufactures about 90 to 95% of AI chips in the whole world. So look at it in a way like, imagine if there's just one restaurant that produces 90% of the world's food, or one kitchen just produces 90% of the world's food. So the entire world is pretty much depending on that one restaurant. If that restaurant closes for Christmas, the whole world is going to starve. So TSMC is that important, and it's like that. Apple, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, all these companies are depending on TSMC. Just to give you an idea, if somebody wants to destroy the world or slow the world, you don't have to missile White House, Russia, in all these places. Just send a couple of missiles to TSMC, the world will be, it's done, dusted. It's gone. Because the technology will entirely stop, the world will be stopped. So the problem is TSMC is having a massive problem. Of course, supplying to the demand, because the demand is really, really high, ridiculously high. So the TSMC doesn't have a way to supply to the demand as well. But at the same time, more than that, how these chips are being made. So these AI chips are being made by this machine called EUV machine. EUV machine means extreme ultraviolet lithography machines. So it's basically what it does is laser into this silicon tray, creating those chips. And with EUV machines, you can create 5 nanometer or smaller chips, like 5 nanometer, 3 nanometer, and in the future probably 2 nanometer chips. Before EUV machine, they used a machine called DUV, and from DUV machines you can create 7 nanometer or bigger chips. So then afterwards, they developed the EUV, so to create small chips. Like the smaller it gets, the less energy it uses, the smarter it is, the powerful it is, it's much more speed and all that. But it takes a lot of learning curve. So basically, in terms of AI, in terms of semiconductor manufacturing, the most expensive part is the learning curve. it's gonna cost all these companies a massive amount of money just to understand how the next generation work. And the next problem is, so I mentioned 90 to 95% of these AI chips are being manufactured by one company, and TSMC use these machines called EUV machines to manufacture these AI chips. And these EUV machines are being made by another one company. There's only one company in the world who can manufacture EUV machines as well, and that company is called ASML. ASML is a Netherlands-based company. So basically, it's like a massive monopoly as well, but at the same time, it's not a monopoly per se. Nobody else can come into the game as well. Even the massive companies like Apple or Tesla or Amazon, even these like world's biggest trillion-dollar companies, they can't get into this chip manufacturing game because it's ridiculously expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. Just to give you an idea, if US wants to create a TSMC in US, a company like TSMC in US, it will take about, I would say, about a decade and about at least about $1 trillion. $1 trillion and 1 decade of effort. They might be, again, it's not a guaranteed thing. They might be able to recreate a company like TSMC in USA, but it's not guaranteed. So you're going to spend a decade and $1 trillion just to see if you can create another company like TSMC. So it's going to take a massive amount of capital and time, a lot of talent as well. And US pretty much don't have the talent because most of the talent, especially in this AI field in US, are not US passport holders. Just about 70 to 75% of the STEM graduates are not US born students. They are foreign students, mostly from China and India. Imagine 70 to 75% of the STEM graduates are from India and China in US. So US don't have that talent. US have to import the talent, and it's really scary for US. And at the same time, it's a massive problem. I mean, if you look into ChatGPT, most of the ChatGPT's top engineers are from India, China, all those countries. They don't have many US-born US citizens. Any of those companies, if you look into Tesla, if you look into XAI, Amazon AWS, look at any company and see who are the top engineers are. They are not US born. They don't have a US passport. That's why US pretty much have to import all those talent. But China, all those other countries, they have the talent. China, I believe even Russia has the talent. I'm not exactly sure, so don't quote me on this, but I saw that Russia has developed their own EUV machine, which is a better machine than the current ASML's EUV machine, but I'm not exactly sure. I have to dig deep into that. But if Russia also has created their own EUV machine, that's going to be another huge game changer. And one could ask, okay, so if Russia can, why China is not creating its own EUV machine? Well, there are multiple factors for it. So basically, US can make their own EUV machine, but then again, they don't have the talent to make their own EUV machine. Even though they have the money, they don't have the talent for it. And China has the money and the talent, but the problem for China is pretty much stuck because they can't get the components. So basically, Netherlands ASML can't export EUV machines to China because of these export controls assigned by US. And these EUV machines needs thousands of other components that you have to get from Germany, Japan, some of those European countries, and even from US. Because of US's export sanctions, China is blocked getting those components. So China has no way to create their own EUV machine. So because of that, China is about one step behind in the AI game, but China is rapidly trying their level best to stay hand in hand with US and with their AI game as well. Even in terms of DeepSeek, this people call it like the Chinese ChatGPT version. DeepSeek is amazing. Amazing how they created it. A couple of years ago, DeepSeek CEO did release an article saying that they are building this DeepSeek. It's gonna be better than ChatGPT, and they have the money, they have the talent, and they have everything. Their only problem is the compute power. They don't have that because they can't get these AI chips. They can't manufacture these AI chips, and they can't get these AI chips from TSMC. So it's a big problem for China. These are the reasons why China can't manufacture these EUV machines. So therefore, like, they don't have the compute power to fight with the US in terms of the AI wars, and that is one of the major reasons why China is trying to get their hands on Taiwan. That's another, not the only reason, but another major reason that why China is trying to get their hands on Taiwan and get it under Chinese ring. And let me tell you how smart AI is, because people sometimes don't have an idea how smart AI is. Very recently I read an article. This university or somewhere has done this research with AI. They have gotten, I think, about 100 or 150 doctors or something like that, and they have divided those doctors into two separate groups. And so the first group was supposed to diagnose diseases based on the normal, their knowledge and the traditional way. And then the second group is supposed to diagnose diseases the traditional way, but with the help of AI. And then the third sector is AI is diagnosing these diseases by its own. Surprisingly, the first group, who diagnoses the diseases in the traditional way, has a correction rate of about 74%, and the second group, who had the help of AI, that their rate was about only 76 or 77%. Like, not a massive gap between them. And I believe probably these doctors didn't have a proper idea about how to prompt and get the best out of AI, or maybe it could be their ego. How these humans, these doctors may have been the AI may have given them the correct diagnosis, and these doctors has been like, well, I mean, this is wrong. What the fuck this AI knows? I've been in the field for 20 plus years. AI doesn't know anything. I don't want to listen to AI, whatever. And so they just did their own thing. However, AI only, without any doctor's help or any doctor input, AI only were able to diagnose those diseases and get a rate of 92% correction level. 92%. So that's like a massive jump from doctors' diagnosis level and just AI only. So it's crazy. The power of AI is just ridiculous, and it just keep on getting better and better and better every single day. People think that they know about AI, they have an idea about AI, but in reality they don't. The reason why I'm saying that most people don't have an idea about AI, the people even who's building the AI doesn't have an idea about AI. Is like this, building AI systems in today's world is like flying an airplane without knowing how the engine works. So let me put it in this way. For an example, let's just take a small kid. You take a small, let's just take let's say a 4 or 5-year-old small kid, and you are going to teach that kid 1 plus 1 is 2. This kid doesn't have an idea about numbers or whatever, and you're going to teach this kid 1 plus 1 is 2. And all of a sudden, within the next second, this kid start multiplying 5-digit numbers. He's multiplying 15,256 into 28,382 and giving the answer within just a second. And you'll be like, what the fuck? Like, how did that happen? And you would ask from the kid, like, how did you learn that? Like, what happened and all this stuff. So the AI is also like that. Like, so you sort of like, train these AI models in a certain way to like, do certain tasks or whatever. And automatically within the next second, like, you started learning, self-learning, all those things, all those massive things. And these people who are creating this AI doesn't have any idea how that happens. Even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, ChatGPT, openly said that they are not even trying to understand how it works, because the reason is being it's information, right? It's the future. So if somebody understood how it works, they can manipulate those information. And if one can understand how it works, there will be more people who can understand that, and they can manipulate those information, and that is really dangerous. So they can pretty much manipulate the entire future. It's like basically, let's just like let's say like you people don't understand how the weather works. So if somebody can understand how the weather works and control the weather, you can just pretty much like send a storm. You feel like you are bored and you are just gonna send a storm to okay, like let's try to send a storm to Dubai and just like destroy a couple of buildings and like kill like a couple of 100,000 people or whatever. Like you can be in control of weather, right? The same way, if somebody can understand how exactly it works, how exactly these AI chips are like self-learning and like getting this massive amount of information, they don't want to understand that. And in a way, it's scary, but at the same time, it makes sense. Because if somebody understood what's going to happen, they can manipulate the information, and that can control the future. That can pretty much change the entire trajectory of the future. So in a way, it makes sense. In a way, at the same time, it's scary as well. So it is pretty, in a way, it's pretty messy. AI is not as beautiful as you think. Just try to do your own research on these things. You don't have to just like listen to whatever I'm saying. Do your own research on this. Ask from ChatGPT or like just Google these things about the energy crisis of AI and about TSMC and what are these EUV machines and why China can't make EUV machines. How this Cold War is gonna happen because of AI. Why I couldn't mention because of this whole US exposed sanctions. There are countries like Singapore even can't get their hands on EUV machines. There are like a lot of, it's not just China. There are like a lot of other countries are also being blocked by getting hands of these EUV machines. So like US is trying to predominantly block a lot of other countries as well to get into the AI game. And I don't know, so like, yeah, people say like, okay, US is a democratic country, so it's okay for US to sort of like, be the leader of AI, and China is not a democratic country. There's like a dictator in China. So if China became the leader of AI, it's going to become a massive problem. But I feel like nobody should become the leader of AI. It should, but at the same time, there has to be a leader as well. So it's complicated. It's really complicated, and it gets really, really deeper. And I'm trying to educate all of my listeners about AI and what sort of a future that we are looking at. And this future is not that far away. It's gonna happen within next 3 to 5 years. So it's not gonna happen in 10 years or 20 years. It's gonna happen within next 3 to 5 years. Because as I mentioned, by 2028, we are gonna have this whole energy crisis because of AI, because these AI data centers are gonna use massive amount of power, and on top of that, these AI data centers will not be enough because the current trajectory of like how AI is growing, with this rapid growth, these data centers, these AI chips for TSMC, it can't, they can't cope up with it. They can't, because understand this, for ASML, the company who's making these EUV machines for TSML to produce these AI chips, ASML took about 25 years and maybe about $50-60 billion to create this EUV machine. 25 years of learning and about $50-60 billion of spending. of learning to create one EUV machine. So you can only imagine the time that takes to create these machines and how fast AI is growing. So it's almost impossible for these companies to just keep up with the demand. So it's gonna be really interesting. Even I want to look how I want to see how these things are gonna happen. So basically, the wars of next decade will not be fought with tanks and missiles. They'll be fought with electricity, pretty much. They'll be fought with electricity, with chips, with intelligence itself. And the most terrifying part is we are building this future and we don't even fully understand it. So if you want to stay ahead and if you want to be a part of the few who see the reality that's coming, make sure to subscribe and follow my podcast on podcast platforms. Until I see y'all again, stay safe, stay sharp, and think big.